Sorry.
It just happened.
Everyone to mute themselves except for Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, we're pleased to have Carol's family with us on the Zoom call today, including her husband Josh, her son Eli, and his wife Megan, and Carol's daughter Rebecca, who is attending grad school in France. There are several other family members, including several of our cousins who are also on the call. Well, Carol and I were first cousins, and we grew up on the same street. She was so intelligent, cheerful, and personable. People loved being with her. Carol was always interested in you, so supportive, enthusiastic, and such a loyal friend. She often had a twinkle in her eye, and she had the sort of laugh that reflected her joyful nature. She had that endearing, charismatic smile. Carol inherited her mother's Southern charm and her father's Toastmaster eloquence. Carol was so loving to everyone, but especially her husband Josh, her daughter Rebecca, her son Eli and his wife Megan, and Carol's brother Bob, his wife Karen, and their families. Carol was remarkably nurturing. She also maintained some very close relationships with classmates from her Sunnyside elementary days, from Peabody, and from her days at the University of Chicago, where she got her master's. Carol was a great listener. She was witty, and she had a wonderful sense of humor. She had humility, self-confidence, and resilience. Carol had a flair for the dramatic from a young age, and she was really a great storyteller. She was always willing to laugh at herself first, enabling others to readily join in. Her stories were hilarious and so memorable. She met many interesting people in her work. She had incredible knowledge of literature, and she was a truly remarkable writer. Take a moment to read Carol's Peabody reunion Zoom from last June, where she presented Tale of the Times, to appreciate the true eloquence of her writing. And you may have already read it, but a copy was emailed to you. In addition to the wellspring of love for her family, she was enthralled by her first dog, Skitch the Schnauzer, when we were kids. She adored her son Eli's delightful pugs, previously Bosco, and especially Frankie, more recently. Carol loved his two dogs with all her heart, and she would pet sit with them, even though she was allergic to dogs. We're all still working through the heartbreaking reality that Carol is no longer with us. She touched everyone that she met in a very special way, lighting up all our lives. Her warm and radiant spirit will always be with us. I'd like to introduce Richard Letterman, who will speak next.
Richard, are you not on, are you on mute?
My God, I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute.
Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
let me start over again. So I want to share this. Photo, montage here with you. I'm going to tell a story about fifth grade at Sunnyside School, but I want to sort of lay a little bit of groundwork first. Carol was an adorable little girl. She had, and she validated this when we met with her, last year and over the course of the past year, that when she was very young, she had a slight astigmatism of her left eye, and she was a little bit, tiny bit cross-eyed. But in my eyes, it just made her all the cuter. She was a cute, adorable little girl. And then you can see in her 8th grade picture, the glasses had cured the astigmatism, and she was no longer wearing glasses. And she told us that she actually stopped wearing glasses sometime in middle school and was only wearing reading glasses. And then also, more pretty than cute, I guess, in 8th grade. And then you see her picture from the obituary that we saw. And again, these sort of professional PR headshots, I think, don't bring out, the sweetness, the bubbliness. As Michael said, she was just cute and charming and bubbly and always smiling. And I think that endeared her to all of us. And I was looking at the Zoom montage of everybody in the Zoom chat room here, and I noticed a picture of Rebecca. I noticed Rebecca is on the call, and I looked at her, and I had to pin her shot to my screen because she looks a heck of a lot like Carol with the glasses, right? I think Rebecca. Anyway, going back to 5th grade, I recall being in the art classroom of Sunnyside School. And I hope some of my Sunnyside School colleagues will help me remember. I think the name of the art teacher was Ms. Velva or something like that. If anybody remembers, I'd appreciate hearing it. Anyway, we sat at these 6-foot-long tables. I remember we were actually learning how to sew, which I really appreciated because sewing has actually come in handy, especially that back stitch with the double thread. It's a nice strong stitch. Anyway, Carol was sitting sort of kitty corner for me in Miss Velva's art classroom. And I asked Carol if she would accompany me on the school picnic at Kennywood. And she happily agreed. And I was very happy that she happily agreed. But at some point, I told my mother that I was going to go to the school picnic with Carol. I was 10 years old, and I guess my mother felt that it wasn't appropriate for a 10-year-old to have a date with a girl at the school picnic. So she basically forbade me from going with Carol to the school picnic. So I had to go into Miss Velva's art class and tell Carol that I couldn't accompany her to the school picnic. And again, she was almost just as happy to, not go with me as to go with me. She very cheerfully said, "Oh, okay, that's the way it is." She was just, again, always, as Michael said, just always cheerful and bubbly. And I think that's what really added to her cuteness. And some of us have had the opportunity recently over the last year or so to meet in person with Carol. 3 couples, Carol and Josh, along with Sharon Glickman-Melliker and her husband, Michael, and my wife, Ellen, and I were able to meet with Carol at a park in Bethesda, Maryland last summer. We've had, and then Greg Rosen and I and Susan Lando Farrell and Carol worked on 2 Sunnyside Schools Zoom reunions. So we had, further opportunity to interact. And by the way, the Sunnyside School reunions were wonderful. And one of the things that came out of the reunions was that we had been all so close. Those of us who went all through school together, most of us starting in kindergarten and going all the way through high school, we were just so close. We spent so much time together that it was just so easy to reconnect. And I think for me, and I'm sure that you all agree, especially those of us who have had a chance to interact with Carol personally over the last year or so, that to have had that opportunity and then to have had her just suddenly taken from us is truly sad. But I will always remember that happy, bubbly little girl in 5th grade art class. I think that Linda Loff is up now. Is Linda with us?
Yes. This is the letter I sent to Rebecca. I sent similar letters to Joshua and Eli. Dear Rebecca, I'm so sorry about the sudden loss of your mother. I just feel devastated and will miss her so much. I went to Sunnyside Elementary, Morningside, and Peabody High with her. I feel so fortunate that we reconnected recently. She was so loving, kind, intelligent, and astute. I really admired and was in awe, a word she would use sometimes, of her wide range of knowledge and accomplishments. She was such a great listener and so responsive and supportive without being judgmental. I will treasure all those texts and conversations. You mentioned your trip to Grenoble and suggested I meet both of you there. It would have been wonderful meeting both of you in France. She was so proud of you. I hope your trip there is marvelous, another word she used sometimes. If I can help in any way, or if you'd like to speak, I would welcome that. My thoughts and prayers are with you at this difficult time. I will miss your mother so much. She really meant a lot to me. I'm so truly sorry about your loss. In addition to this letter, I would like to share some other memories. My earliest memory of Carol was going to her home in Stanton Heights and her mother being so welcoming. Carol had the same graciousness and warmth. But more recently, when I reconnected with Carol, we talked about visiting a town somewhat near Grenoble, which had hidden Jews during World War II. She also told me that many years ago, she was so excited to have found the home near Geneva, Switzerland, where the author Shelley first thought of the idea for the book Frankenstein. During the pandemic, I became interested in authors, and Carol would suggest books to begin with. For James Joyce, she suggested The Dubliners. For Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway. During our last conversation, she mentioned she had been following Mayor Daniela Levine Cava since day one of the condo collapse in Surfside and loved her leadership. I will miss Carol so much. I think of her often. Now Adria Arch will say a few words.
So I always admired Carol for her warmth, her intelligence, and her sense of humor. And in senior year, we started to realize that we had a lot in common, but somehow we never really ended up in the same friend group. And I'm really, really sorry about that. And we both lived in DC in the early 70s, well, late 70s actually. We ran into each other and talked for a long time. But alas, I was on my way to move to Tucson. So again, we kind of missed that opportunity to really get to know each other. So though I don't really have a personal story to tell, I just want to tell you, her children, and her husband, Josh, that I liked her immensely. And I wish that we could have known each other better. We even talked a little bit about trying to meet in person after we'd first reconnected again after the Peabody reunion, thanks to Bob Creo and a lot of you from last year. That was just such a wonderful thing to see so many of you again. So I don't think that we change all that much over time. And Carol will always live on in my mind as this friendly, super smart, outgoing, lovely young woman with bright blue eyes. That is the thing that I remember of her more than almost anything else, and a huge warm smile.
Okay, thank you, Adria. So I will put you, if you go on mute, Adria, great. So I'm just going to tell a little story about Carol. I was on a plane in March of 2019 to Buenos Aires to go on a quiz, and there was a guy sitting next to me, and we just start talking as we're on the tarmac at Dulles Airport. And he says, I mentioned I was from Pittsburgh, and he says, my best employee's from Pittsburgh. And I said, and who's that? Maybe you've heard of her, know her, but I doubt it. She's Carol Herman. So it was Mr. Keene, who was mentioned in the obituary, and he had been, he was heading to South America, and he pulled out his cell phone, and he texted Carol Herman, and he said to her, I'm sitting next to some guy who claims he knows you. And then we were texting back and forth, and it was just one of those amazing coincidences. And I think that the what I take away from that is Carol's the type of person that whatever she did it well, and she touched so many people. And when we were preparing for the Peabody virtual reunion, and she was doing the Tale of the Times, she put so much work into that. She sent drafts. I spent 2 Zoom calls with her. We practiced it, and it just saddens me that somehow we have not been able to locate the recording, even though 3 people recorded it. But we did, as we indicated, send the Zoom around with, not the Zoom, through the PDF and the Zoom invite. So that's what she said at the session, and it was wonderful. And Carol was a wonderful person. I think all of us regret that over the years that we didn't get to spend more time with her and some of the other classmates. But it's good that we reconnected on the virtual reunion, and I reconnected with Carol, and I would just say we all loved her very much and pass this on to Susan.
So my story goes back. Can you hear me? Yeah. My story goes back to our senior year at Peabody. First, I want to apologize to the family. I know this is the story I told at her memorial service, so I hope you don't mind hearing it again. But it's a story that reminds me so much of Carol. We thought we were so grown up our senior year, but now from the perspective we have now, we realize we really weren't that mature. But yet in this story, I believe Carol showed a maturity well beyond her years. So it goes back to our senior class play, and Carol desperately wanted a part. And Hugh Gilmore did not give her a part. And she was very disappointed. In fact, I remember her swallowing her pride and going to see Mr. Gilmore, especially to ask if he would give her any part, just any part. But he could be a bit of a pill, and did not give her a part. Now, most people, especially at that age, our seniors, we would have been discouraged and thought, been heartbroken about it. But not Carol. It didn't get her down for long. She found out about a play that the JCC, a musical, was doing citywide. It was the musical Mame. And she tried out. She did not get the part of Mame, but she did get the part of Mame's secretary, Agnes Gooch. Now, for those of you who don't know the musical, Mame was a very glamorous woman who believed in living life to the fullest, while her secretary, Agnes, was the exact opposite. She was frumpy, she was introverted, she didn't say very much at all. And Carol played that part, I mean, in all its frumpiness. That's how she was for most of the play. But again, in the play, Mame convinces Agnes to live life, to have a drink or two and live life to the fullest. So that's what Agnes does. And I remember Carol coming out and her hair was all teased up. She was in this skimpy dress and did this burlesque kind of dance that just brought everybody to their feet, cheering and screaming. She just played the character to the full. And then I also remember at the very end, with the credits, when everybody came out to take a bow, when Carol came out, I think she got even more cheers than Mame did. I mean, people were just screaming and cheering her. She just did such a tremendous job. And the final triumph was that good old Mr. Gilmore was actually in the audience watching, and he sent her a note, which she later showed me, which said, "Carol, congratulations on your excellent portrayal of Agnes Gooch." So that's my story. I do have a final poem I would like to read to conclude this memorial service. This poem was read by Carol's sister-in-law at her memorial service. I had never heard it. Maybe some of you had heard it, but I think it's very appropriate. And it's called "She Is Gone" by David Harkins. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you could do what she would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. I think Bob might have some final words.
Yes, thank you, Susan. We are recording this and we're going to put it up on the YouTube channel. If any of you have a remembrance or reflection of Carol, if you would like that to be added to the section that we have on Carol in there, and we will do that. This will be available. Larry Warshbell has been kind enough to curate the site, and we'll have it available hopefully within the week and up. And I want to thank everybody, all the presenters and the family for attending. And we all love Carol and we'll miss her. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to end the meeting. Okay.